Hi, YouTube.
Hey YouTube friends and family, it's your boy GB Reviews, and today I'm doing a special video. It's a interview and product review of a young entrepreneur. Her name's Michelle Lewis. She is based out of North Carolina, so she's a local homegrown entrepreneur and business owner. She runs a nonprofit. She's a graduate of the Yale Divinity School and the Yale School of Forestry. She got her Doctorate of Ministry at Emory University, and she went to Elizabeth City State University in North Carolina as an undergrad. She basically started off because there was a need because of the coronavirus situation and the fact that there was a shortage of masks. She thought maybe I can make a difference. And so what she did is she and her sister started making masks at home, and they sent me a few of the masks just so I could look at them and review them. But I have to say that I'm quite impressed. And so they hand stitched these masks at home, and they have now ramped up production to a few masks that they were doing per day, and they were shipping these masks to just like local hospitals for free. They were just kind of giving them out for free to people who needed them locally. And the word kind of caught on, and now they are doing national distribution of these masks. They've ramped up, and they're still handmade masks. They do up to 1,000 masks a week, and so they're shipping out hundreds of masks a day, which is just phenomenal. So we're going to look at the masks. We're going to talk a little bit about the masks that they have. They sent me some of their original designs. They have the updated design, and then they have kind of like the fancier, and they have names, the Michelle, the Stephanie. And I'll show you the different masks. I'll put them on just so you can see what they look like, the fit. But I have to say that I am quite impressed. This is what hard times brings you, entrepreneurship, and it just shows you that people have that innovative spirit to really, at the worst of times, it brings out the best in people. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just look at these masks. I'll try them on so you can see what the fit of the different masks are like, and then we're going to do the interview. I had an opportunity to do an interview with Michelle, and so we were able, social distancing, to do a Zoom video interview. And so I'm gonna run that after this, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about, my impressions of her. Let's get at it. So when I look at the different masks, this is the original mask, and these are called the Michelle, the original, right? And so she was very nice to send me a few masks, and these masks run about $8 each, but if you buy more than one, obviously, because they're handmade in the US, you get them for discounted prices. I will drop the links of their website below, and also here I've dropped it on the screen too. Their website, which is AMERIMASKS.net. You can go and order masks for yourself, for your loved ones. But I just want to show you what the masks look like, and I'm actually, some have wire in them, but if you don't want the wire in them, they have the non-wired mask. But these are the Michelle, the originals. They have the wire in it, but if you take it on, this is the large fit, and look at that. Look at that black watch pattern. Gotta love it. You can coordinate with the different outfits that you have, which I think is kind of cool. This is a small. I may have a difficult time putting this on just because I have a big face, but yeah, see my face? My face is kind of big. But for you guys, I'll make it happen. Look at that. Look at that. Carol Baskin, no, just kidding. You can get the tiger print, which is kind of nice. And then this is the non-woven polypropylene mask. So that's what it looks like. This is construction. Let's see what that fits like. The feel is different, yeah, for sure. This is woven material, so if you look at that, you can tell the difference. And if you look at this is kind of that surgical polypropylene material on the inside. So it's really by preference. These are washable. This is washable as well, but I don't know how this would hold up over time. I think this you might have a bit of an issue, but again, I'm not sure because I haven't washed it. But I know these are 100% washable. All this is just fabric, and these are kind of good to go. And then you got the Stephanie, Stephanie is like lightweight, you know, no holes barred, cute little patterns. Look at this. You like dogs, and they're reversible, which is kind of cool too. And this is no wire. This is a no wire design. Now, this is for a person with a huge face because look at this. Unless you can adjust it, which I'm not sure you can, but I mean, I guess you could figure out a way to adjust it. But you got to have a huge face. It's like if you had a horse face. Maybe the Stephanie is for people with large faces. And then this is the Stephanie with wires. You know, wires. The wires are nice if you're working in the health industry because you can, or in any type of industry where you're wearing masks for a long period of time, you can bend it around your bridge of your nose, which is kind of cool. And so remember when you put the wires on, it goes around the bridge of your nose. I would have to tighten this up. Again, I think the Stephanies must be for people with larger faces. And then this is reversible. So you have the dots and then you have the gray on this side. So, you know, sometimes when you're out in Corona time and you got to go out to go shopping, things like that, it's the party side. And then sometimes you just want to be like, yo, don't talk to me. I'm out in the streets trying to make a better life for my family. I'm trying to get the necessary resources, or I'm going to work, and you wear the gray side. So these are the masks that they have. The Michelle Originals, the non-woven polypropylene side. I think it's amazing. Like I said, young Black entrepreneur, minority-owned business in North Carolina. She's killing it. We're gonna cut to the interview now, and that way you can see exactly who Michelle is and what she's passionate about. Hello, YouTube friends and family. We're here with Michelle Lewis. She's a young entrepreneur that is actually trying to make a difference during the pandemic times. She has started a small business that is blowing up that produces medical masks. I'm sorry that you can't really see this, but she's going to show you better examples. But medical masks to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. And she has done this all on her own. This is not her business. This is not the thing that was driving her beforehand. She's not in the medical field, but she chose to make a difference. She's like many of the Americans around the country that are choosing to take the reins of the thing that is affecting our society and to try to fix it. So I'm going to ask Michelle a few questions. We're going to talk a little bit about what is her passion, what drives her, and then we're going to talk about a little bit about the process, because I want you to see that, you know, these handcrafted masks that she's doing locally. She's a local business owner, actually a nonprofit owner down in North Carolina. She's going to talk about the process of how this happens and how to get these out to everyone. So with that, I'm going to just introduce you a little bit to Michelle. Michelle, thank you for joining me today. I know it's challenging times. I would have loved to do this interview with you in person, but as you know, we're social distancing. So I'm giving you a virtual hug for, you know, coming out and doing this with me today. So Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, so that people understand who you are.
Okay, yeah, well, thanks for having me, and virtual hug back to you. And so I'm like, where do I start? I come from, my grandmother was a professional seamstress. My grandmother was a professional seamstress. She taught my father how to sew, and my father taught all of us how to sew. But it wasn't something that I ever really did a lot of because I had other stuff going on. I went to school, went to graduate school, went to Yale and did a Master of Environmental Science and a Master of Divinity and got my doctorate from Candler School of Theology. But we were sitting around so my mother was hospitalized and passed away last month. And we were sitting around. Yeah, thank you. We were sitting around which, what people do. And, people weren't able to come over because of, coronavirus. People were scared it wasn't coronavirus related. And we said, how can we give back to the community? Which my mother had a spirit of an entrepreneurial spirit. And it was my sister and I and my sister-in-law, and we were like, how can we give back? And I said, what if we make masks? And they said, well, I don't know. And they were like, well, we don't even really sew. And I was like, well, I sew. And so I started, my sister ran out and got elastic. I had just bought all this fabric to do some sewing projects. And they were like, well, where would we even get fabric? I said, oh, I have fabric. And I ran to my room and started pulling out all this fabric. And I'm like, oh, so I sat around that evening and just made a couple of masks just in the house. And I kept doing it. I don't know that my sister-in-law has made any additional masks. I finally taught my sister how to make masks. She helped me finish out a batch last week for a bunch of orders. And so something that started out just kind of with us sitting around the house thinking about how can we help the community has grown into this whole other thing where we're producing masks. We've got an additional sewer that kind of we picked up. We've hired local help now, which it's pretty awesome that in this season where so many jobs have been cut, we've actually been able to create employment for a couple of people. And it's been good. It's been good. It's kept us busy. It's we call it kind of the ministry of the mass, right? So I'm a pastor.
Right.
And we're not having worship because I think it's important for us to be responsible to the community. And so this is one of the ways that I am trying to honor the community is by creating these masks. And we don't turn people away. So if somebody says, I need a mask, but I can't afford it, I'm not working, they get a mask. So for every mask we sell, we give one away to essential worker, people in need, senior citizens. So
now this journey that that's excellent, and I'm again sorry to hear about your mother, and it's excellent that your mom was able to inspire you to do something that is just such a needed service nowadays. What was that journey like when you talked a little bit about how you started just making a few masks, but now it seems like you've blown up and you're making 1,000 masks a week, and so what did that look like when you're talking to people like saying, hey, I'm just making a few masks to donate to my local community, but now I'm shipping masks all over the United States? What does that look like?
Right, so we can make 1,000 masks a week. We're making them in batch, and what does it look like? It looks like, the first few that I made, I said I've actually thought about just sending those people new masks because the design has evolved and they've gotten so much better. So it was kind of a rough start. I started out just like, oh, well, I have this fabric and I tried a couple of patterns that I found online, but I didn't like them, so I created my own pattern, and it's worked really well. And it's a pattern that's nice because it's reproducible, and so we have 2 designs now that we ship. We've got the classic, which was my design, and with some modifications, and now we've also got another design called the Stephanie, which was created by one of our sewers. So it's her mask, so we named it after her. We call it the Stephanie mask. So if you get a mask and you're like, Stephanie, I'm not Stephanie. Who's Stephanie? So, and we go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was just thinking, so my understanding is that you used to be a law enforcement officer. How does that inform what you do and how you do it? And what is your thoughts about like some of the frontline workers out there, the first responders and the folks that are working at the grocery stores and the service industry? What are your thoughts about those folks?
That's a really good thing. And so how it's informed the work that we do is we don't make black masks. Just as a principle, I won't make a black mask because, I shot at targets for years, and a lot of times they were masked people on the targets, and often they were people in black masks. So I don't make black masks. That's why people sometimes will be like, well, can I get a black mask? Like, we won't make you one. And, we can give you navy blue or gray, the desired dark color, but not black. And so it's given me the particularly soft spot for those frontline workers, those essential personnel, because I think back to all those times that I had to show up for work when I was considered essential personnel. And sometimes you felt a little forgotten. And sometimes people showed up with this expectation, like, oh, well, you work for me. And it's like, well, I do, but I'm also a person with a family and a backstory and a ton of other things going on in life. And just thinking about how we honor those people in the midst of this too.
Oh, great. That's now. Do you have you found that many of your orders are going to these frontline personnel, or is it just going to local citizens, or is there a mix? What have you found with your orders?
It's a mix. We've shipped masks to New York and Connecticut for medical professionals. And, masks have gone out locally to other frontline essential employees. I dropped off a batch yesterday to postal employees, which were all donated. And so we dropped off a donated batch to postal employees. We dropped off a donated batch yesterday to Dunkin' Donuts because
Oh, wow.
they're open. We dropped off a batch yesterday to somewhere else. I can't even think of where. And then I got a call from some senior citizens in the community who needed masks, and so they got masks yesterday too. So, as well as yesterday was ship day. So yesterday morning was spent packaging masks and shipping them out.
Now, in terms of like your capital that you used to start up, were you able to get a small business loan when you started up, or were you're self-financing until you were able to get your business up to scale?
Yeah, self-financing. We didn't even really think about a small business loan just because it wasn't something, initially we were like, let's just make a few masks.
Mhm.
And because I had fabric, which, there is a huge cost in fabric. So because I had fabric, I was like, oh, well, we already have this stuff to start with. So let's just make a few and see what happens. And initially, all of our masks were just donation basis. So if people wanted to give us something, if people could give us, we did. And what we found is that people really did kind of rally around what we're doing. And some people have given some really sizable donations that have helped us to really get started and get going and, buy some extra things that we probably wouldn't have been able to purchase otherwise.
Excellent. And then what did you like, how did you first get the word out about your mask? Was it just the local community? Because now you're saying you're shipping nationwide. How did you get that word out?
Local community and Facebook.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, Facebook has actually provided an interesting, network of folks, people who are in need all over. And so then friends told friends, which has been cool.
So now looking 12 months out, 18 months out, what do you see this business evolving into? Would you do surgical masks plus other things? Would this be a part of your ministry? Like, what does this look like in the next 12 to 18 months?
Right. Well, I think we would like to do some, surgical masks and, the head,
Head
the
covers, yeah.
surgical head coverings.
Surgical head
Yeah.
covers, yeah,
We've talked about doing some of that. And we've also talked about, what about when the pandemic is over? What then does this become? So right now we're operating as a subsidiary of a nonprofit that I have called the Peace Garden Project
okay.
that grows food in communities to work on issues of food security. And so I think that there really is a need to think about where we get our products, because once I started sewing and looking at how much time and work goes into creating something, I realized that a lot of the clothing that we purchase in stores is made in sweatshops in other countries where people are not being paid for their work or are being paid very little. So we've talked about clothing. My sister's talked about handbags. It'll continue to evolve into, I definitely think it'll morph into something else. But we haven't, kind of really figured out what that something else is at this point.
You mentioned your nonprofit, the Peace Garden Project. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Let us get a feel for what you did before the pandemic struck.
A few years back when I was living in New York, I was serving a church and was working on my doctorate, and we were talking about ways that we could serve the community. And the food insecurity is a very real thing, even though it's something that I feel like we don't really talk about. And so we said, well, why not plant a garden and see what happens? And so we planted a garden. And we didn't just plant a garden though. We say that what we do isn't just growing healthy food, we grow healthy community. And we planted a garden. We did some workshops. We invited people into the space who ordinarily wouldn't be there. And so we look at the intersectionality between food justice and other justice issues. So if you've got a food justice issue in your community, you know, the chances are that you've got some other really egregious injustices in the community that just aren't being addressed.
Right.
And so we work to address those. So we've got 3 gardens in Westchester County, New York. And we're on schedule this summer to open 5 smaller gardens here. And then we've just recently partnered with a local farmer. So we'll be growing food and still working on issues of food security in the community.
Oh, interesting. The idea of you talking about a food garden and being self-sustainable, that has been kind of the undercurrent of this whole crisis. People have been talking about, you know, what happens to our supply chains and how do we provide food for those who are most at risk, right? This is one of the reasons why people are trying to advocate for kids to go back to school, and they're creating these programs so that kids who normally would get food during the day, they now get food. The question I have for you, I guess, going back to one of the statements that you said early on, you said that you went to Yale for graduate school for forestry and divinity. Tell us about
Yeah.
that, because that is a very interesting combination. I don't think many people are even aware that Yale has a forestry school or a divinity school. And so can you tell us about those things?
Yeah, so I was a park ranger. And what I noticed when I was working for the National Park Service is I didn't see people that looked like me. And other people didn't see people who looked like me either. And I know that because they would come to me and ask if they could take my picture. They would say, "Oh, can we take your picture? We've never met a Black park ranger before." And so my research at Yale started out as just looking at the role of race in the environment. And my thesis was actually titled The Environment and Race in America, Realities, Perceptions, and What It Means to the Modern Environmental Movement. So my thesis there was titled The Environment and Race in America, Realities, Perceptions, and What It Means to the Modern Environmental Movement. And thinking about how race shows up and how people of color are excluded. And something that came up repeatedly for Black and brown folks is just the history in this country around lynchings and woods and the outdoors, and just really working to help break down some of those stereotypes and that stigma, but to also one of the things that came out of my research was that it's not that Black and brown folks don't want to be engaged. We are engaged, but we are just excluded from being at the table. And you know, when you help people understand, for those that don't understand, like, why engagement is important, right? Like asthma rates are 3 times higher in Black and brown communities than they are in other communities. And that in and of itself, if you've got a kid with asthma who can't breathe, right? If you've got some free time, you may decide that that's a cause that you want to support. And so just looking at, and so helping people become engaged is like region specific often. And I think that's what's been left out of environmental discussions and conversations. And then the divinity piece is, as I started studying religion, I started looking at how to connect people through their existing faith systems to the environment. So not in the politics of conversion necessarily, but how does a person who is Muslim or practicing Islam, right? How might they connect to the environment? What do their holy scriptures say? What about, Christianity and Buddhist and, people who are Hindu, right? Just as a few examples.
And so would you say that your graduate experience, that and also working on your PhD kind of helped to shape your entrepreneurial spirit, more confident that you could definitely do this? Because again, like I said, the math that you're producing are amazing. And, when people learn more about you, I feel that at some point you're going to exceed your capacity to make masks. And you're going to have to outsource. Hopefully you don't have to like outsource overseas, because you can't do that right now.
Right? Yeah. And that's actually one of the things we've talked about. But thinking about, what does it mean to like source our products locally? Like we do our very best to source our products locally, like within a couple hours drive or radius. Or I was actually just online looking at like getting our own fabric printed and shipped so that we can spend less time like sourcing materials. But I think that, my environmental background definitely informs that. And it's definitely informed how we try to, like operate, making sure that, we want to make sure, when we're paying people that they get a living wage or because, and so often, and this is one of those areas with where minimum wage is still 7.50, and a lot of people don't make more than that if they are working. So just making sure that, if we're bringing people on, and so I think that my divinity background combined with my environmental background has just made me more aware of people and being sensitive to the needs of people.
Now, let's talk more about your mask. How much would a mask typically run someone if they were ordering a mask from you?
Right now, we're running a special online where an individual mask is $8, and then you can get a 2-pack or 6-pack or a 10-pack or a family pack. That's our special right now. The prices eventually you may see them go up to $10 or more, because one of the things that we've been trying to cut back on are people buying and reselling our masks without permission from us. Yeah, that started happening. So
Really?
yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't even think that was a thing, but I guess I should have known. I saw these reports about people buying hand sanitizer and trying to resell it online. So that's kind of crazy. And so, what's your website?
Our website is amerimasks.net. It's AMERIMASKS.net.
And if people want to contact you via phone number or email, what would they do?
Right. So email is amerimasks. So same thing, AMERIMASKS@gmail.com. Or they can give a call to 929-266-3775. So people who want to contact us by phone can call 929-266-3775.
I guess my last question for you is, where did you come up with the name AmeriMask? Where did you get that from?
Well, there's been all this kind of question around like what makes a person American, right? And we're American. I come from my father was career Army. I have a twin brother who was in the military also. And we wanted to show a different picture of America. So we said, well, what if we called a USA mask or American mask or something? But we shortened it up to AmeriMasks, and that's where it came from.
Well, Michelle, I want to say that it has been delightful talking to you today. You are just you are the light that I think people are looking for out there, that is going to make a difference in our fight against COVID-19. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. And please continue to do what you're doing. I hope that, well, no, I don't hope you get overwhelmed with orders, but I really hope that you are so successful in terms of just making a difference, because again, I think that people don't understand how each one of these masks are made with love. Like, you really are you're getting handcrafted, hand sewn masks made in America by people who all they care about is helping the folks in their community. So thank you so much. And is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to my sister Angelica, who has been doing all that she can, and my twin brother. Shout out to Stephanie, whose design we're reproducing, and she's producing along with us. And just shout out to all the people out there who supported us early on, who just wanted to help, who were like, oh, I could use a mask, and here's a few bucks to help you all in this effort. So shout out to all those folks.
Oh,
and shout out to you for being willing to do this interview. So thank you.
Well, no, I think, like I said, it was important when you told me about your mask project. I thought, wow, that's amazing. And I just, I think, again, a lot of people didn't really take it as seriously, not your business, but just the whole pandemic when it first started. So people weren't even wearing masks, and now people are required in many instances to wear a mask. And I think it just, your timing was ahead of the curve. And, we keep talking about these curves. I think your time was way ahead of the curve. And I think it is now, has been a benefit and shown that you are a visionary. So we thank you for your visionary talents. And also, I hope that we can come back in a few months and maybe do a follow-up interview just so we can see how things are going. Maybe there's a cure and everything is over, and we'll see what your business has evolved into. But thank you so much. And, please tell your sister and all the folks that are helping you make the mask that we thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All right. And you take care of yourself and don't work too hard, because 1,000 masks a week sounds like a lot.
Like I said, that's our max end. Uh, so we've been working, trying to get rest. When we have a lull in orders, we take an afternoon, a day off. But then we get back to it.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, you take care, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, you too. Thanks.
Now, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. It was really the essence of what she wanted to do and why she's doing it, and the passion that she had. I was really impressed. Michelle is a unique person and individual because she's had a varied career. She started off doing stuff for the Park Service as a law enforcement officer, and she ended up as a pastor, which is kind of a journey that you wouldn't expect people to normally take. I thought it was amazing. I was super interested, and I think it just again shows you what you can do when the times are just kind of challenging. What they say, adversity is the mother of necessity, and that's kind of how I feel. What Michelle did. She actually took lemons and made lemonade, and I think it's great. I think if you can, please support her business. Like I said, I'm dropping it into the comment section below. Not the comment section, but the description below. You'll have her socials and how to get these masks, to order them from her website. But like I said, high quality, hand stitched masks made in America. And they have several different options. I think they're kind of cute. The feel is nice, hyperallergenic. If I had a horse face, I could wear this one. But I would tighten this one up because I like this. The Stephanie, the Michelle, party side, business side. It's just a very nice company, very nice person. And I think that you guys should definitely check out our website at least. And if you can, if you need masks, please support her. That's it for your boy GB Reviews. I don't really have a lot today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Please leave your comments below. Please hit that like button for the algorithm, and hit the notification bell so you can see when my new videos come out. And I'm gonna try to mix it up just because we are doing things differently, considering we're all at home with the COVID-19 stuff. In pandemic times, it's just trying to make things a little bit more interesting. So we're gonna do interviews. I'm gonna try to do again more cooking videos for you folks. I'm trying to do more cooking videos for you folks, and then I am going to make sure that we do more reviews. And then when things open back up, we'll get out there and do more car reviews and more car things, and maybe even some motorcycle things. I want to thank you guys for rocking with me today. Again, check out Michelle Lewis. Like I said, she's a Yale graduate, Divinity, Forestry and Environmental Studies, Emory University, Doctor of Ministry, and she's a Elizabeth City State University graduate, represent HBCUs. So get out there, support our local communities, our local businesses, and stay safe. Remember, social distancing saves lives. So with that, it's your boy GB Reviews, and I am out. Peace.
Subscribe, but right below.